Two children have lived their whole lives in a remote forest, completely isolated from the world. Their mother told them the outside world was destroyed by monsters. Only this small cabin, covered in protective inscriptions left by their ancestors, could keep them safe. Whenever they went out to gather supplies, they had to tie a rope around their waists, with the other end tightly secured inside the house. This way, they were always connected to the cabin's protection. Their mother strictly warned them never to let go of the rope under any circumstances. The two boys always followed the rule, but this time something goes wrong. Because the rope isn't very long, they can only search nearby areas. As resources run low, the younger brother Gia spends hours searching but finds nothing. Then he spots a bird egg nearby and rushes toward it. But just as he's about to reach it, the rope pulls tight. It won't stretch any farther. Frustrated, G decides to ignore his mother's warning and untie himself. Just then, his older brother Rui walks over and stops him. G insists he only needs a few seconds to grab the egg, but Rui refuses. He says they should mark the spot and tell their mother, so she can extend the rope and come back later. Jai gives in and walks away angrily. To mess with his brother, he steps on the rope behind him. Rui suddenly slips and rolls down a slope, the rope untying in the process. He injures his ankle and can't stand up. Jai panics and blows the whistle to call their mother. Hearing the sound, Anna runs toward them, but strange hissing noises start coming from the woods. Ignoring the danger, Jai unties himself and rushes down to help. Neither of them notice that a lizard-like creature is creeping toward them. Tongue flicking, Anna finally arrives, but from a different direction, and her rope has also reached its limit. Seeing the boys in danger, she grabs a knife and cuts the rope, then rushes forward and pulls both children back up the slope. She quickly grabs the rope again and tightly wraps them together. They narrowly escape before the monster reaches them, but when G opens his eyes, he sees nothing. Anna sits nearby, visibly shaken, almost like she's lost her mind. For the first time, he starts to doubt her. Back at the cabin, Anna violently forces the boys onto the floor, making them press their hands against the symbols. She acts like she might hurt them if they don't obey. Though confused, the boys do as they're told. Then, one by one, they must crawl into a hidden storage space under the floor. Anna seems to notice their doubts, and later during dinner, explains that the monsters can change shape and even possess humans. That's how they could sneak into the cabin. To be safe, she needed the boys to prove they weren't infected. The space under the floor is said to have divine power that repels monsters. Still, G remains suspicious. That night, he asks Rui if he actually saw anything earlier. Rui says the monster just missed them. G questions this. If what their mother says is true, then why doesn't their dog need a rope? Rui has no answer, and the two drop the discussion. G decides to find the truth himself. That night, Anna is startled when Jie suddenly appears behind her, standing still and unresponsive to her questions. She quickly carries him back to bed. It turns out Jie has a sleepwalking condition. After last night's chaos, Jai forgot to tie the bell to his ankle. Luckily, Anna caught him before he left the cabin. As their supplies kept running low, it was time to go hunting again. But Rui's injury hadn't healed yet, and after what happened last time, Anna decided to go out alone and let the boys rest at home. She tied 3 ropes together to increase her range. While preparing to hunt a crow in the forest, she noticed the bird pecking at a corpse. A moment later, Jie slowly turned his head, covered in blood. Anna blinked and realized it was just a hallucination. She quickly raised her crossbow to aim again, but saw Jie appear beside her in the corner of her eye. Shocked, she misfired, and the noise scared the crow away. Anna realized her mind was affected by stress and fear. With no food caught, she scraped some tree bark, burned it until it was crispy, and tried to flavor it, but it wasn't nearly enough. Since Rui couldn't walk far, Jie had to help the family gather bark too. While collecting, Jie suddenly felt someone rush past behind him, but when he turned, there was nothing. Stranger still, both his mother and brother had vanished. Just as he was about to search for them, he noticed the bell on his ankle, but he clearly remembered he only wore it while sleeping. Before he could figure out what was happening, someone shouted his name. It turned out G was dreaming. He had sleepwalked out of the cabin again. But what was worse than the dream was that he wasn't wearing a rope. Realizing this, G looked around in fear. The forest was silent. Suddenly, Anna rushed out and carried him back inside. The noise woke Rui, who found out his brother had wandered out in his sleep. Anna threw Gia into the storage space again. The cold air made him cry out, but Anna ignored him until time was up. When she finally opened the door, G had already wet himself. The humiliation made him resent his mother even more. Knowing she might have gone too far, Anna took out an old camera she'd kept hidden for years. She showed it to Rui and explained how it worked. It was a relic from before the world ended, and it had just enough film left for one final photo. She told the boys they could decide how to use it. Intrigued, both children were immediately fascinated by the device, and G briefly forgot his anger. But Anna's next words reignited his rage. She admitted they hadn't had a successful hunt in a long time. The food they had wasn't enough to feed themselves, let alone their pet. So she planned to kill the dog, both for meat and to reduce the burden. She said it would be the dog's final contribution to the family. G was furious and got into a heated argument with her. Anna suggested they vote. To G's despair, Rui sided with their mother. Helpless, G could only watch as Anna dragged the dog into the storage room, but just as she was about to act, G appeared behind her holding a machete. He had long suspected something was wrong with her mind and decided to test her. Ignoring their protests, he cut the rope with one swing, then ran to the door and locked Anna inside. She begged him to open it, but G stood firm. As he grew more agitated, he began smashing the windows with all his strength. Anna grabbed a stool and broke the glass, trying to climb out, when suddenly, a strange voice called from behind her. At some point, the monster had appeared behind Anna. It told her that soon, it would possess her and force her to kill her own children. Hearing this, Anna was filled with despair. Terrified, she chose to end her life rather than let that happen. As she collapsed in a pool of blood, Rui stopped resisting and quickly unlocked the door. There was no sign of a monster inside, but G, feeling guilty for causing their mother's death, quietly picked up the rope and tied it around himself again. Without Anna, the brothers couldn't even keep themselves fed. Seeing how hungry Rui had become, G decided to take on the responsibility of hunting. Like their mother, he tied 3 ropes together to extend his range. Even then, he barely found any food, but with the longer rope, he walked farther than ever before, reaching the edge of the forest for the first time. There, he saw a flat, paved road, clearly man-made. Realizing this, Jai began calling for help. He shouted for a long time, but no one answered, so he turned back in disappointment. Just then, a man appeared in the distance. He was a traveler passing through who had heard Jai's calls and came to check if someone needed help. Jai hesitated. Part of him felt the outside world wasn't like what his mother had always said, but years of being told otherwise made him afraid to believe it. The man said he had food in his backpack and a car parked just outside the forest. He offered to take the boys with him, but before he could finish, Rui stepped out holding a crossbow. He believed the man was a monster trying to deceive them. The man quickly said he meant no harm and could leave if they didn't want help. He turned around slowly to walk away, but the next moment, Rui shot him. The man clutched his wound and stumbled away. G immediately chased after him and found him not far away, badly injured. The man was holding a strange device G had never seen before. A phone. A voice could be heard coming from it, asking questions. Curious but cautious, Jai took the man's backpack and ran off. Now, the brothers finally had enough to eat. Jai eagerly tore open a can and began eating. Rui refused, believing the food was tainted by the monster. But later that night, unable to resist his hunger, he quietly ate too. Nothing happened. Slowly, Rui began to doubt what he had believed. Inside the man's wallet was a photo of him and his daughter. That made Rui even more unsure. He also discovered light sources other than candles for the first time. Sitting at the door, deep in thought, he suddenly heard a noise coming from the storage room. He went to check, but found it empty. Just then, a voice behind him made him jump. A girl had appeared, looking for her father. Her face matched the one in the photo exactly. Rui finally realized their mother had lied. He quickly said he hadn't seen the man, but the rope tied around his waist made the girl suspicious. Then she noticed he was holding her father's flashlight. Rui tried to explain, but when the light moved away, the girl saw Anna's corpse inside the storage room. She screamed and ran toward the forest. Rui instinctively chased after her. Even without monsters, the woods were full of danger. The two of them ran through the trees, one fleeing, the other following. Before long, Rui reached the end of the rope. No longer believing in the rules, he finally untied it. But after chasing for a short while, he realized the girl had vanished. Then, behind a tree trunk nearby, he saw something with 6 arms slowly climbing up. He looked up in fear, just as a long tongue shot into his clothes and slid into his mouth, taking full control of him. Back in the cabin, G suddenly woke from sleep and noticed Rui was gone. He quickly tied the rope around himself and went out to check. All he saw was the rope stretching deep into the forest. He tried pulling it back, but Rui was nowhere to be found. Picking up a flashlight from the ground, G was about to head into the woods when he heard Rui calling in the distance. He ran toward the voice, but found nothing there. Sensing something was wrong, he turned and sprinted back to the cabin. Luckily, he made it back without anything happening. But when he stepped inside, he saw Rui sitting silently on the bed. Jie suddenly remembered what their mother had said about possession. He grabbed Rui's hand and began reciting the protective text. But in the next second, Rui pulled out a machete and swung it at him. Jie immediately realized his mother hadn't been lying. The monsters were real. He ran to the bathroom and locked the door. But Rui pushed the bed over to block it and set the house on fire. With no way out, Ji climbed through the window onto the roof, but the height was too great and he couldn't bring himself to jump. Rui stared up at him with a strange grin, watching as Ji crawled back into the house from the other side. Instead of stopping him, Rui took out the camera, intending to capture this moment with the last photo. Jie tried to escape, but suddenly came face to face with Anna blocking the way. He knew she had to be a monster in disguise and ran downstairs to open the storage space, ready to take a chance. By the time Anna calmly followed, Jai was gone. Then, he appeared behind her and shoved her into the storage pit, pulling the rope shut. Trapped inside, Anna started screaming and crying in pain. As she thrashed inside, her form began to change. Unable to resist the power inside the pit, the possessed Anna was slowly burned away until nothing remained. Soon, the fire spread through the forest and caught the attention of a rescue team. Whether by luck or divine protection, Ji survived. After being pulled from danger, he told the rescuers there was still one more person in the forest. They assured him they already found someone, Rui, unconscious, being carried onto a helicopter. Seeing this, Jie finally relaxed. Looking out at the distant city lights, his heart filled with hope for the future. But what Jie didn't know was that in the final photo, a monster's hand was resting on Rui's shoulder, and back in the cabin, where the creature had disguised itself as Anna, Rui quietly smiled again.